What's up, everybody? This is Zach
And Derek.
with a Nerd Cave, and we just went and watched a little movie called Batman, The Killing Joke.
We were lucky enough to see one of the special screenings that's been going around, and what was cool was it had a little featurette on Mark Hamill
Yeah.
before the actual movie started about his time on Star Wars, transitioning into voice acting, being the Joker in one of the best cartoons of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Best. And then being asked to come back and do one of the better known and more iconic stories. Something that's like been on the top of everybody's list. Like everybody wanted to see an adaptation of The Killing Joke. And they brought back Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have pictured it not having them.
Yeah, I think it would have been a totally different movie if it didn't have either one of them.
Well, what did you think of them actually showing that little featurette before the movie?
I thought it was a good way to kind of prep everybody for, most people know that Mark Hamill is the Joker, and that's kind of been a pretty, basic knowledge, but some people might not have. And I think it was just a way to kind of pay homage to him and being, there for so long. And I hope they did one for Kevin Conroy as well, but I don't know. But
it could be something that's on the DVD.
Yeah.
It's like a bonus feature, and they just showed the Mark Hamill one in theaters. Now, I guess we'll say we are going to get into spoilers for this, which if you've read the book, you know what happens.
Yeah.
So it won't really be anything new to you except for they added a prologue, which I know between that and something else that I want to get into has been very divisive among the community. The Killing Joke is not very long. It would have been maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been a very short animated film, and I think that's why they probably put this prologue in there, is kind of beef it up a little bit, but also kind of explain why, people were so important. Why was this character such an important character?
Because you don't really know anything about Batgirl in the comic. It doesn't really tell you anything that you don't know.
Yeah.
With this prologue, it kind of, I guess, emulates her more or fleshes out her character because when the big moment happens, when the Joker paralyzes her, it makes that moment, I guess, feel a little more emotional, because if they wouldn't have put that prologue in and adding in the relationship with her and Batman, which I guess you didn't know about the certain thing.
No, I didn't.
That happened. I didn't find out until like yesterday or the day before. It was like, there's a sexual moment between Batman and Batgirl, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah, I had no idea because I've stayed away from anything other than that little preview they did a while ago. But I think it was a good way because, reading The Killing Joke, we all know who Barbara Gordon is. We know why she's important. We've seen her in the animated series and everything. But for people that are like, I love Batman, and they're doing this Killing Joke thing, and I want to see it, they might not know who Batgirl is. For some odd reason, they might not, And I think it was for the majority of that segment, it was pretty good. It got a little bit slow close to the end of it, especially when they took away the character, Paris Franz.
Yeah.
That kind of slowed down that momentum there, and I was like, okay. And then it went into The Killing Joke, which I understand. Was not expecting the sex scene, though.
I was not either. I mean, you don't really see anything. It's just implied.
Yeah.
But towards the end of that scene, like I'd say the last 5 to 7 minutes of it, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get into the actual beef of the story. Yeah, I want the Joker to come in. So the prologue, I think, was around 15 minutes or so. It might have been a little bit longer.
I think it was closer to 20, 25, something like that. It was pretty beefy.
Yeah, it was a little long, but I didn't hate it.
I didn't either. I think it was necessary to, like you said, get that emotional attachment to Barbara Gordon for this.
Yeah.
And getting Tara Strong back for Batgirl
which was
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, just bringing back all these actors was so cool. And then I guess getting into The Killing Joke itself, I posted this on Facebook as soon as the movie was over. Mark Hamill is the greatest Joker of all time.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Like it, and this cemented it to me, because to adapt this book, you had to bring back Mark Hamill, because you've mentioned it on, various podcasts. When you read a Batman book, you picture Mark Hamill's voice when you're imagining the dialogue.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with, Batman. You automatically have Kevin Conroy's voice in your head.
Now, where would you rank this on Mark Hamill's Joker performances?
See, it's such a different type of Joker. Like you've got your Batman the Animated Series, which is more your classical comedic Joker type deal. It had some dark stuff here and there, and then you've had the Arkham games, and then you have this, and this is a much darker type deal. I'd probably put it in the top 3, though. I probably would say the Arkham games are still his top, just because there's so much content in those games that he had to produce. But this one, it's kind of apples to oranges almost in this, and it was just so awesome to get him back in, and that Broadway number was was just evil but so cool at the same time.
And the fact that it was him doing it was even better. And there was a little featurette after the movie where they were talking about the score, and they actually showed Mark Hamill in the studio doing the voiceover for that, and he's projecting like this with his hands, and you can tell he's really getting into it. And I'm like, this guy, you would never think that Luke Skywalker is such a talented voice actor. And that was even touched on in that featurette. He's like, I'm Luke Skywalker, I can't be the Joker.
Yeah, I can't be this evil guy.
Yeah.
It's a PR nightmare. That's what he even said.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing I wanted to get into before we get into like our overall thoughts of the movie, something else that was really divisive among the fans was the animation style. The book was incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
The cartoon or the movie wasn't as detailed. And I didn't mind the animation, but I know a lot of people were like, oh, well, it doesn't look exactly like the book. And I'm thinking it would take a lot of time to really nail down all the fine details of the art that was in the book.
Yeah. It kind of goes hand in hand and all of that if they were to put in all that detail, this movie would still be in production. It would not be out in theaters or out on iTunes or whatever. It would still be worked on. Animation is not computer graphics or anything like that. You're not going to get that much detail and still be able to put it out in a timely manner. So, making it where, okay, we're taking this art style and we're making it into something we can actually animate and do it for a full-length movie. That I had no problem with it, and I love The Killing Joke. So it kind of goes back to Dark Knight Returns. That's not the same animation as the book.
No, it's not.
You get further in that book, the worse it looks. So you're like, is that Superman? This is blue blob over there.
If it had followed the art from the book, then they would have all might as well have been stick figures. They would have looked better that way by the time part 2 rolled around.
Yeah.
But I think that was just something that fans were being a little too nitpicky on, was the animation. I'm like, you're getting the story. Exactly.
And comic book fans of any of like nerd stuff, we complain about so much, and we have The Killing Joke now.
Yeah.
So we have Dark Knight Returns and we have The Killing Joke. We don't need anything else. Be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any problem with it.
I mean, I couldn't tell you how excited I was when they announced this.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they're like, oh, and not only are you getting The Killing Joke, you're getting Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill.
Oh, yeah. That's when you catch everything on fire.
Exactly.
You murder someone.
And what's cool is, this July 25th, when we saw the movie in theaters, tomorrow it will be out digitally on iTunes. So I'm definitely going to download it again because I want to watch it again.
Oh, yeah. I'll ask my question later.
Okay.
But let's get into what you want to talk about the movie. Like, what did you think about it? Like, overall, like, what were your thoughts on, like, the pacing and everything?
Well, I thought it was pretty much just a straight adaptation from the book once you got past the Batgirl prologue. And as I said in the beginning, the prologue I thought was good. I thought it was a little long, but in the grand scheme of things, I didn't think it was that big a deal. I thought the pacing maybe was a little too jarring at times between the flashbacks to the Joker origins and then back to present day. I liked the first segment when he's looking in the mirror at the carnival, and then it just kind of goes into the first flashback. But the other ones, it just seemed kind of like, oh, we're supposed to put the flashback here. There it is.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You know, in a comic book, it breaks it up because they're in panels.
Yeah.
But in a movie, it was a little just like, okay, we're here again.
Yeah.
You know, I think in the comic, it was a little bit easier to connect with the Joker when he was not the Joker. They fleshed that out a little bit better in the comic than they did in the movie, especially when his wife died.
It was just kind of, eh.
Yeah, it was like, my wife died from a bottle thing. It's like,
from a random accident that was like 1,000,000 to 1 chance that it would happen.
Yeah, and it wasn't delivered that well, like animation wise. I don't know. It didn't feel,
the whole presentation in general
Yeah.
wasn't that great. And if I remember right, it was actually a really emotional moment in the book because he's sitting at this table in tears, and then the crooks are like, "Oh well, sorry about your wife, but hey, you still got to go through with this."
Yeah, I think that was the weakest scene out of the whole thing.
What did you think of the ending? Because I read one review that said that you couldn't elaborate or do anything different with what was already a horrible ending with the book because it leaves it so open-ended as to what happens. It felt more open-ended in the movie than in the book.
Really?
Well, because in the book, you've got the police showing up in the background, and you can kind of conclude that Batman killed the Joker.
I think you could still conclude that from this because you have both of them laughing, and then you stop hearing the Joker laughing, and then the water starts turning red.
True.
So that kind of told me right there that Batman did happen. Batman crossed into the abyss and he did kill the Joker.
Because that was something that was hinted at in that prologue was when Batgirl was, still new to this whole thing, and Batman's like, you haven't gotten so close to the abyss. And then she got to that and she quit. Yeah,
and she said, no person can resist that if, they keep going back and back. So, look out for yourself type deal. So I kind of think that they closed that out. I wanted to see the cops coming because that's such an iconic panel.
It was just, that was one of the few things that once it really got into the adaption that was just so different. Because I remember the police in the background, you see the silhouettes of Batman and the Joker, and it looks like Batman is killing him.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen like that scene pretty much reenacted shot for shot.
Yeah. I think it was, yes, it's different, but I still think it's a good way to show that and that happening.
Yeah.
One little thing that I thought was really, really cool is in the mob bosses, that hallway of all the families. I don't know if you caught this, but on one side of it, there's a picture of Martha and Thomas Wayne from the animated series. Yep.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, and if you remember Paris Franz talking about it, that was pictures of family, and most of them had been killed. So,
wow. No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Something that you said you didn't catch that I did was when Batman's looking at the Joker's file that he has, and you see, like, it has 12 pictures, I think, of the Joker. One that was in the top left corner was a reenactment of the 1989 film when Joker combined all the beauty products and, created this type of poison or whatever. There was a scene with Jack Nicholson where he has a beach background and he's in a lounge chair and he has sunglasses and he's got like suntan lotion or whatever in his hand. They reenacted that. Like you see Joker in a beach chair holding the sunscreen, and he has sunglasses on. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Like, there's so many little nods in
Yeah.
the movie, and I think that's one great thing that we've gotten over the years is more and more Easter eggs and everything. So I thought that and the Martha and Thomas Wayne thing was really cool. One thing that I did want to point out, in the very beginning, the prologue, the Batmobile, totally different. But the Batmobile and the Killing Joke, what did that Batmobile look like?
Reminded me of the animated series.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah. Now, do you think, of course, this movie is not for children.
No.
Okay.
Kids absolutely should not watch this.
Like, if you're a parent and you're letting your kids watch this, you're a horrible parent, okay?
Yes.
There's no way around that.
And that was something that made me happy. I didn't see any kids
Yeah.
at the theater, and
Yeah.
I was like, thank God.
Yeah, because there's some very graphic stuff. What was your take on the scene where he paralyzes Barbara? What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was done well. It reminded me of the book, and as soon as I liked how it was presented, where she opens the door and it's like a point of view shot.
Yeah.
And then you just see a close up of the Joker's face. You see the hat turn. I love that he wore the hat pretty much the whole time, by the way. And then it cuts to the shot of the gun.
Yeah, and it's like just like
yep,
and like boom, and she just gets blown back. It was just like the eyes. That shot has always been so just like cringeworthy in a way, just because like the eyes are just so, it's like pinpoint white, just white, and then all dark, and it was so well done. And then the lines that Mark Hamill delivered after that were just, oh my God, is
unbelievable,
this like being said?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ruin them because they're so good, and I will never be able to deliver it that way. But it was so just like, oh my God. But the torture that Jim Gordon endured, I could not imagine.
I just remember reading the book, and I was just like, how can this guy still want to put the Joker in jail and put him through, our law system? Like, if that were me, I would want him dead, immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And just the way that whole thing was done with the Broadway music and, the transition from the TVs, from the Joker singing to all the pictures, I was just like, oh my God. Like, that is the scene that really stuck out to me whenever I read the book.
Yeah, and it's such a good way because when we read the book, we didn't have this musical number. We just had kind of rhyming words or whatever. But they did such a fantastic job of taking those words and making it into something bigger than what it was. And that was such a cool moment that I didn't even think was even in the movie. So that was a nice...
I completely forgot about the musical number.
Yeah, and like I said, like in my mind, I didn't sing it in my head. I'm just like, blah, 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 that rhyme, blah, 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 that rhyme. So getting Mark Hamill, like, just like in it, and he's just going, that was so cool.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Awful at the same time.
Awful, but really well done.
So what are your final thoughts on it?
I was actually going to ask you indirectly in the same way, where does this rank among the DC animated movies?
That was actually my question that I was going to... But I have to say, okay, it was a great movie. Dark Knight's still number one. I'm sorry. Dark Knight's... The B-Man's awesome. Like, I loved getting Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill back, but number one still, for me, Dark Knight. The whole thing, not just part one or part two, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Killing Joke number 2, and then Flashpoint Paradox.
I would put Killing Joke, I would put it third. Second, I would put Flashpoint. Number one,
Phantasm.
I still got to put Phantasm. I just love that movie so much.
It's an awesome movie. You never can be careful.
with all those weirdos around.
I had to set you up for it.
I want a live action version of that movie.
It would be so awesome.
Oh my god, it is such a good story. It would make a great story.
It's another Joker origin in a way.
Yeah.
So, I love the movie. It's definitely worth going to watch.
Absolutely, and I know in a lot of places they're doing a second night of screening. So if you're watching this, on late Monday night or early Tuesday, and the movie's playing in your area, definitely go watch it. Because it's on iTunes and you can just download it, but it's not the same as seeing it in a theater with a bunch of Batman fans.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the coolest things is we haven't had an animated Batman movie or an animated comic book movie in a theater since Phantasm.
Yeah.
And animation has gone by the wayside in, previous years, and this is such a cool way to say, hey, I wanted to go see this movie. I supported it. Please keep doing something like this.
Absolutely.
And I loved it. So
I did too.
Don't watch it with your kids though.
No, leave the kids at home. Find a babysitter and go watch Killing Joke. Or if you're watching it at home, put the kids in their room and watch The Killing Joke.
Yeah. So definitely check it out, guys, and we hope you enjoyed our
review. Knee-jerk reaction to it. We literally just came home from seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you like to tell everyone about this new Patreon thing that we have going
guys,
on?
if you want to keep seeing awesome content like this, you can go over to our Patreon at patreon.com/nerdcave. We're going to be getting all of our content early there. You can check out all the tiers. And, guys, your support is much, much appreciated. And August 1st is when everything is going live there. So, just get ready to hit that button. Say, yes, I support the Nerd Cave.
All you have to do is just donate $1, and you get an exclusive bonus podcast every month.
Every month, and that means like every month. If you came in at December, you got all the months before that.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. It's $1.
Absolutely.
Oh no,
just $1.
One simple $1.
But you can also check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have different podcasts that come out throughout the week. Monday is Nerd Cave Retro. Wednesday, Fantasy Football for Nerds. Thursday, the Derek Diamond Experience. Friday, the Nerd Cave Podcast. And Saturday, we have our friends over at the Pop Culture Palette.
Yeah, guys. And make sure you check out our gaming channel, which will also start putting content out on August 1st, and that's Nerd Cave Gaming. So, this has been Zach.
And Derek.
Have a week.